Hey peeps, thanks for tuning in to Devlog 3 of my indie game development journey. First off, I just want to say thank you for all the kind words and encouragement in the comments on the last videos. Honestly, I've been doing this game dev thing solo for a little while and it's mostly just a hobby, so having people actually tune in and find things to enjoy in the process is really cool to see. But alright, let's dive in. What you're seeing on screen right now is one of the early test units for the game. An obscure mech called Hawk. And this one's important. It's kind of a baseline model. Think of it like a standard issue for Federation forces, but enough of the lore drops. It's mainly going to be used for locomotion and combat systems, so once I put out an extensive animation video that shows how we got to this point, you'll see a bit of that process. And excitingly, that video is going to be titled Motion Matching Advanced Tips and Tricks Episode 2 or Part 2. I put out Part 1 last year and I never finished that up, so I think now's about time to do so. Anyway, as you can see, I'm just getting into modeling the mech, starting off with the legs. I'm just working on memory, or working off of memory and freehanding it, making sure things basically match like standard anatomy. I want it to be real close to like a human form, bipedal, but the same design philosophy follows through for the entire thing. I'm sure it's nothing you haven't seen before. So as we have that in the background, just showing a little bit of modeling and completing this mech, I'll talk about some game feel ideas for things that we're going to be doing coming up in the next week. One of the things I feel that's been lacking in any sort of mech game or anything that you're in a mobile suit and you're supposed to be like a 10-meter tall robot, you never really feel like that. You never feel like you have that sort of strength. You should be able to run through a wall like the armor titan through wall rows, breach the hull of a spaceship through the outside just by cannonballing into it, you know? In order to achieve that, I think we got to work on that one piece of the game mechanics at a time. First things first is the sprint. Let's think about the armor titan for a second and what that scene looked like. It paused, it thought about it, it started to get up to speed, one step at a time. And with each step, that anticipation started to grow. How do we have that game feel? Should it be on the side of the person witnessing, or should it be on the side of the person running? Or should it be both? I always like to start with the feeling of the person behind the wheel. So I think we can pull something from an old game I used to play called Mischief Makers on the Nintendo 64. In that game, there was this stage, and it was like an Olympic game sort of situation. I can't really remember. It still feels like it was a dream of some sort. In that game, you couldn't progress and you couldn't move faster than your opponents unless you tapped to run. And I thought that was incredible. It was like the entire game blew up. And I felt like all the way up until that point, I've been moving incredibly slow. Even though you already have a dash and have a sprint in the game before using that, you're not aware that tapping continuously can make you move even faster. I think we can pull that over and slot that into our game as well and make that something that feels visceral whenever you're running with the mech. We'll have a base top speed that you can get up to just by holding shift or doing a standard run, but let's say you tap shift, or let's say you tap WASD. If we do one or the other, you should be able to increase that top speed by a certain margin. As you're running, as you're building up speed, next is a shoulder bash. We could easily blend the pose using additive animations, forcing your shoulder forward during the stride, and ultimately using that hitbox to break through a wall. Using this tap to dash, I want to be able to change directions while you're dashing as well. Let's say changing directions isn't so easy in the mech. If you're sprinting around and wanting to turn, you have a pretty wide arc because of your momentum. But you could either use the boosters in order to change direction on a dime, or if you want to stay on the ground, I want to be able to switch your tap direction and take a quick step to do a quick 90-degree turn or 180-degree turn. keeping your momentum and keeping your speed. I think this alone can make the game feel more combat oriented and give you something fresh to do in a mech game. That's something we'll be labbing out, and I'll be showing you after I show you the animation workflow and showing you the video on the motion matching tips and tricks part 2. So very soon. We're getting pretty close to completing the mech, as you can see. I had to draw a little guide for the body structure, and it helped a lot with just making sure that things looked as presentable as they can be on the first pass. The inner structure for the body doesn't really matter too much because it'll be covered up by the shell anyway, but still, too much laziness here can really ruin the design. As we're finishing up, I think it'd be cool to talk about one more gameplay element that we'll be working on in the near future, which is grappling. I think in order to feel like you're a mech, simply grabbing onto something should be enough to subdue or destroy it, especially at this scale. I haven't really seen it in games at all, but once again, if we take a look back at my favorite game, Mischief Makers, they had it all figured out. You could grab and throw your enemies into other enemies. You could jump up and catch something flying at you. The game felt reactive, and just this little element alone made you feel like you had all the skill in the world. Anyway, that's it for this episode. If you're digging what you're seeing, drop a like, leave a comment, or just say hey. It helps more than you think. Subscribe if you want to see more. And, you know, there's a lot more to build. More mechs, more systems, more chaos. So piece by piece, it's coming together. Next time I'll be diving into combat structures, how fighting styles work, and how your mech's personality shines through. So it should be fun. Until then, catch you on the next one. Peace.